Strength, power. These are things every human desires. But what if I told you about a man in Kenya who isn't just strong, he's unbelievably strong. This man can do the impossible. He lets a car drive over his belly and he doesn't even flinch. He can pull 50 men in a tug of war by himself. He can break bricks with his bare hand like they're made of paper. And if you tie him between two motorcycles trying to pull him apart, they won't move him an inch. Who is this man? How did he get such insane strength? And how did he even discover his superhuman abilities? Well, meet Patrick, the strongest man on the planet.
Vile nilijua niko na nguvu.
I knew I had this strength 6 years ago.
This is not a joke. This is the real story of Patrick, the giant from Kenya, the man everyone underestimated. Some people call his strength a gift from God. Others say it's witchcraft. Because when people don't understand something, they fear it. But the truth, Patrick was simply born different. He inherited a rare set of genes that gave him extraordinary strength from birth. At 43 years old, Patrick is a mountain of a man. He's massive, he's stocky, and he eats enough food to feed an entire family in one sitting. His journey from the streets of Nairobi's Kagondo village has been anything but ordinary. Some people fear him, some people worship him, and some even believe he made a deal with the devil. But Patrick, he just wants to live his life. And through it all, one person has stood by his side, his wife. She watches in amazement every time Patrick does something impossible. And even though the world doubts him, she never does. But today, we won't be the ones telling his story. He will. For those who find some parts of his life unbelievable, maybe they are. But let's hear it from Patrick himself.
Naitwa Patrick Chege Kariuki.
My name is Patrick Chege Kariuki, but people call me Rhino Power. I come from Kenya, Nairobi. I represent Kenya, and I'm sure nobody can challenge me in this country because I believe in myself. Beside me is my wife, the woman God blessed me with, Gladys Chege. I was born here in Kagondo village. This is where I train. This is where I do everything.
Patrick is the kind of man whose strength and ability could be celebrated globally. But instead of chasing fame, he chose to stay true to his roots. Now, when we hear the word giant, we imagine something terrifying, an enormous, intimidating, and unstoppable force. But Patrick is not just a giant, he's an adorable giant. He speaks calmly, he carries himself with ease, but when it comes to heavy lifting, he's the man you call.
Vile nilijua niko na nguvu.
I knew I had this strength 6 years ago. I met a man who had a flat tire, but his jack wasn't working. When I helped him, he was shocked. He couldn't believe I lifted the car without any assistance. He had never seen anything like it.
Of course, the man was shocked. Honestly, who wouldn't be? Imagine standing next to someone who can lift a whole car with his bare hands. That is the definition of intimidating.
Tulikosana cause alianza kusema mimi.
We actually argued. The man told me I wasn't normal. He refused to let me come near him because in his mind, only a jack could lift a car. He thought I was a witch. He even asked me if I was a ghost. I told him, no, I'm just a man.
This might be the funniest compliment Patrick has ever received, being mistaken for a ghost because of his strength.
Nikaona sifai kumwacha pale because
I didn't mean to scare him. I only wanted to help because the place was dangerous and it was already 9:30 p.m. That was the first time I used my strength like that.
Poor guy, he must have been terrified. But for Patrick, that night was life-changing. That was the moment he discovered himself.
Nirudi nyuma kidogo.
Going back to my childhood, I was always different. At just 8 years old, I was doing chores meant for grown men, carrying heavy loads of cow grass, lifting things other kids couldn't. In school, when we played tug of war, I would go against 4 or 5 kids at once and still win. That's when I started testing myself. I would fill a sack with soil, tie it up, and drag it across the ground, 50 meters at a time, and every time I added more weight. Now I'm 43 years old, but back then I was just a kid, only 10 or 11 years old.
Let's take a moment here. A 10-year-old boy pulling sacks of soil like they were nothing. This proves one thing. Patrick's strength was never an accident. It was never a condition. He was born this way. And honestly, that is the closest thing to a miracle. Now, here's the big question. How do people react to your strength today?
Sasa waliona hii kitu haibadiliki.
Right now, the people around me are used to my strength because they have seen that it has never changed over the years. At first, my neighbors were surprised. Imagine a 10-year-old boy pushing a car out of the mud alone. It didn't make sense to them.
In general, people don't pay much attention to kids or their abilities. Maybe that's why no one truly noticed Patrick's strength in the beginning. But fast forward to today and the world is watching. So, when did his strength finally become undeniable?
Nikiwa tu mdogo.
My parents noticed my strength before I even turned 10. I was the eldest, so I had to help my mother with chores. If she was sick, I took over. I remember one time when my mother went to the hospital to give birth. My father still had to go to work, so I managed everything, feeding the cows, cleaning, cooking, everything. I was only 10 years old.
It's not just his body that's strong. Patrick has a strong mind too. Handling all household responsibility at 10 years old, that's not just impressive, that's unbelievable. But let's think about this for a second. Having a man this powerful around, does it make people feel safe or does it make them afraid?
Manake
People never saw me as a threat because of how I was raised. I was taught to use my strength for good. Just 2 days ago, I met a woman surrounded by thugs. They had guns and knives, but I still managed to save her.
Akiendea mtoto shule.
Patrick was picking up our daughter from school when he saw a woman being attacked. The thugs had knives. They told him to step out of the car, and he did. Patrick grabbed one of them and broke his arm on the spot. The rest ran away in fear, but then they came back. They asked themselves, how did one man defeat us? So they tried again, and guess what? Patrick took down all 4 of them. By the time people arrived, the woman was screaming and all the thugs were arrested.
Using your power to help people is something very few can do. But Patrick doesn't just have raw strength, he has control. Which makes us wonder, have you ever trained? Have you learned any techniques?
Niko na kickboxing.
I trained in kickboxing, even though I never had a mentor.
Wait, what? No mentor? No coach? Then how did you train yourself?
I had to create my own weights because I couldn't afford to buy them. For my legs, I did sit-ups. For endurance, my wife takes me jogging every morning. We train together. She has been my biggest supporter. One day, I wanted to see what my teeth could handle, so I tried breaking a 6-inch nail, and I did. Even now, I can snap a 6-inch nail in half with my bare hands.
A 6-inch nail? We had to take a moment to process this information. Imagine how people who actually saw this in real life must have felt. But in all our time with Patrick, one thing became very clear. There's one person who stands beside him no matter what. Gladys, his rock, his biggest supporter. And we believe that when the world talks about Kenya's strongest man, they should also talk about the woman who stands beside him. So, Gladys, tell us everything. How did you meet Patrick? How did this incredible story begin? We're dying to know.
Mi naitwa Gladys Nyaguthi Kirika.
My name is Gladys Nyaguthi Kereka. I was born in Laikipia West in a place called Dingarwa, where I also studied. As I grew up, I became a police officer. My first posting was in Loitoktok, but later I was transferred to Nairobi to a place called Gachui in the Dagoretti sub-county. And that's where I met Mr. Chege. Our meeting wasn't planned, it was a God-sent coincidence. My sister, who was sick, was his friend. Patrick offered to take her to the hospital and she asked me to come along. That's how we met. The moment Patrick saw me, he told me he loved me, and the rest, well, the rest is history. One day, while visiting my sister in Kijabe Hospital, I offered to buy lunch for everyone. My younger sister looked at me and laughed. She asked, "Are you sure you can feed this man?" I was confused. She told me Patrick could eat more than 20 chapatis in one sitting. I thought she was joking until I asked Patrick's own sister. She told me, "You're wasting your money. You will never be able to satisfy him with food." But I had faith. I told them I would do it. So, at lunch, Patrick ordered just one chapati with stew, but I knew better. That's when my sister whispered to me again, "Gladys, you don't understand. He once joined an eating competition in Waithaka where he drank 5 liters of porridge, ate a whole bowl of githeri and rice all at once." I told her, "You must be lying." I thought she didn't want me to marry him. So I went straight to Patrick and asked him if all this was true. He just smiled and said, "Ask my family." That was the moment I realized I had fallen in love with a legend.
There were already rumors about Patrick's strength. Some said he was not human. Others believed he had supernatural powers. But for Gladys, none of that mattered. She saw something deeper. She saw the man behind the strength.
Since COVID ianze haijakuja.
There was a Nairobi International show before COVID where Patrick would always perform. He invited me to watch him. At that time, I was also on duty at the showgrounds, so I got to see everything. Patrick pulled 30 soldiers to the ground all at once. Then, a car ran over him. I was terrified. Even my younger sister started saying, "Gladys, this is not normal. This must be Chege powers." She thought he was using witchcraft, but I refused to judge. Instead, I decided to visit his parents and ask them directly, because I knew if Patrick's powers came from anything dark, his parents, who were deeply religious, wouldn't stay silent about it.
This was her best decision yet. Being a police officer, Gladys understood how dangerous life could be for people with dominant personalities. Patrick was a walking legend, and people feared what they couldn't understand. But Gladys's love and faith were stronger than any rumor.
But they had to date for long.
By the time I confronted his parents, Patrick and I were already married. We didn't date for long. Just a few months after my transfer, we moved in together. I didn't care what people were saying. I had already chosen him. When I asked his mother why Patrick was so different, she told me, "Gladys, I'm just as amazed as you are." Ever since he was young, he did more than what other people could do. Neighbors even scolded me for making him work too hard, but I wasn't forcing him. He wanted to do it. Even if I reduced the load, Patrick would add more. Even his father still says, I wonder if this is really my child because what he does surprises me.
Sasa mwezi wa 10 ndio nimejionea the real thing.
After 2 months, in October, I saw it for myself. His parents said, Gladys, we can truly see that you are God-fearing. There was Samson and many others. Does Satan have more power than God? So do not listen to what people say. This is my own child, whom I gave birth to. This is God's doing. When his mother told me this, I finally felt completely at peace with him.
Some people believed Patrick's strength came from witchcraft, but his own mother and father didn't even understand it. People fear what they don't understand, but Gladys, she saw Patrick for who he truly was.
So watu wengi wakimwona hata shule anaendanga.
Even today, when he visits primary schools to showcase his strength, children touch his stomach and ask, how does your wife handle you? People keep asking me how I deal with him, but they don't know the real Patrick. He's just a normal person with a huge heart. His own sisters told me, Patrick is the strongest in our family, but he never hurt us. It was always our younger brothers who fought, not him. He doesn't like fighting, but if you provoke him, that's a different story. I'm so proud of him. He loves his gift, but he also feels disappointed sometimes because despite all his hard work, his strength has not brought him success yet. Sometimes he tells me, I will stop letting cars run over me. I will stop everything. God gave me this gift, but it has not borne any fruit. And I always remind him, God does not give gifts for no reason. One day, Patrick, the world will see you.
Gladys' faith in Patrick is unshakable. Her love isn't just about strength, it's about the man inside. She sees his struggle, she sees his heart, she is his rock, and honestly, even without a cape, she is a hero. To everyone watching this video, if you had something to say to the world, Patrick, what would it be?
The people who are watching me, if there is somebody, anybody who feels like he or she can support me to perform to stadiums, just sponsor me. I'll be very ready, and I'm very ready to cooperate because the strength is mine and I'm very ready with it. Anytime, any moment, I'll be very ready. I'm asking too for support from our world people. Yeah, not Kenyan peoples only, world people. Yeah.
We all know Patrick is the strongest man, but let's take it a step further. Patrick, would you like someone to challenge you?
I'm very, very ready. Me, as you can see me the way you can see me, I'm asking anybody who feels that she or he can just come and challenge me. I'm very ready. Waiting for anybody in this world to come and challenge me, either friendly or competition. I'm very ready.
Oh my God, that gave me chills. Now the question is, will anyone ever have the courage to challenge Kenya's strongest man? Because trust me, no one from our team even wants to try.
By then naweza shukuru watu wa showground sana.
I want to appreciate the Nairobi Showground and the Jamhuri Show. Every year, they gave Patrick a chance to showcase his strength, and he would at least get 10,000 shillings as token of appreciation. Even local primary school would invite him, where students contributed 10 shillings each, and he would raise up to 20,000 shillings. But Patrick has always believed in himself. Every time he watches wrestling on TV, he tells me, one day I want to compete. I want someone to challenge me. Because so far, no one ever has.
Even Gladys wants to know, will anyone ever dare to challenge her husband? Would you? If someone is brave enough to take on Kenya's strongest man, we would love to see how that turns out. But Patrick, you've been training on your own for years. What challenges do you face and do you need any support?
My challenges is as long as you can see I'm in Kenya, I have been here. I have never ever met anybody telling me that either he can support me or she can support me. I'm ever that way. Now I am just asking a request. If there is anybody worldwide who can just support me to move to the next level, I can be very happy and I can be able to support my family here. I have kids, I have a wife, I have a family. Now I'm asking kindly, if there is anybody who can just support me, because I ever train for me to be better in future. Yes, I'll just tell God to bless you all, people of our world. I love you, all of you, and I know we shall meet. And I think you will be looking at me, you'll be happy with my events, and I ask God to let me meet you and be with you and watch my action right.
Wow, meeting Patrick and Gladys has been one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. They don't just live with Patrick's strength, they embrace it. They laugh, they joke, they accept who he is. And that is true happiness. The air was electric, filled with pure love and unstoppable energy. And now I have just one last question for you. Who should challenge Patrick? Drop your proposals in the comment section. Maybe, just maybe, we'll find the next Bruce Banner. And if no one steps up, at the very least, you'll get to see Patrick's softer side. Because here's the truth, you can't judge a book by its cover. Everyone assumes Patrick is a monster. Some even call him Satan's child. But the truth, he's just a regular man. A man trying to support his family. A man working day and night to make something of his gift. The world needs to hear his real story. So let's get the word out. Nameless Campus was here, and this is Afrimax English to help share Patrick's story with the world. Subscribe, share, and let the world meet Kenya's strongest man.